Joining me now is Alex Caballero, who is the founder and director of Cuéntame. Alex, good to have you on the Ed Show tonight. You know, trusting Republicans is a long road to go when it comes to immigration reform. I don't think it's going to happen. I hope it does. But I think this is all motivated by their demographic problem that they have at the polls in this country right now. Do you trust that there really is going to be enough honest brokers on the conservative side that we're going to see some real reforms to address undocumented workers in this country? Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, Ed, what I think is that we can't trust anyone right now. We've seen in the past how this goes down, and it's really unfortunate, the back and forth that is happening within the Republican Party and even on the floor on the debate. But most importantly on this, and most concerning, is when we hear and when we see Senator Jeff Sessions introducing 44 amendments that call for absurd items, when we see Senator Grassley introduce 77 amendments that he knows that will kill this bill, when we see Representative King in the House calling Dreamer students aliens invading their office. Obviously, when we're asked the question, can we trust these legislators and politicians, the answer is no. Why? Because we've been down this road before in 2007, 2008, and they killed the bill.
Well, do you think that Congress should raise the minimum wage and connect it to the immigration reform at the same time so a lot of Americans who are here aren't going to be left behind economically? Do you see a connection between the two, or is that not relevant?
Absolutely, and it is very relevant. I mean, what we're seeing right now, and particularly as we were discussing in the farm issue, and particularly, we've seen depressed wages there where employers, and particularly big agro-business, are taking advantage of our workers, are taking advantage of our immigrants, in some instances paying way below the wages that need to be paid. And what's most importantly, and I want to quote one of the Cuéntame supporters on this, one of our supporters on the page, that says, listen, immigrants contribute to our economy. Immigrants pay taxes. We contribute actively. We create jobs. We're actively mobilizing a lot of the important aspects of our economy. And so when we're having a discussion about what's the living wage and how much can we live on, right now $14,500 is the yearly minimum wage. I mean, and at the same time, they're talking about not giving access to services. So what we're creating is a shadow economy of a community in perpetual marginalization and perpetual poverty. And we need to stop that.
I think the conservative movement in this country does not want immigration reform because it helps keep wages down, just what you're talking about. But there's also somewhat of a mindset that is very strange. This came out of the mouth of Jeb Bush. I want you to hear what Jeb Bush had to say about immigrants. Here it is.
We're going to have fewer workers taking care of a larger number of people that the country has a social contract with, to be able to allow them to retire with dignity and purpose. We cannot do that with the fertility rates that we have in our country. We're below break even today. Immigrants are more fertile, and they love families, and they have more intact families, and they bring a younger population.
What's your response to that?
Well, he's supposed to be the smart one, right? He's supposed to be the one that is really advocating. The sad part about that clip is that he was actually making a point pro-immigration and pro-immigration reform in particularly. But what they're getting lost in those points is they're getting lost by this rhetoric and trying to peg the Latino community, our community, in a certain way. They just don't understand. They keep misunderstanding the point of what we're all about. And statements like this only further the particular knowledge that what is driving a lot of the rhetoric within the Republican parties is completely different than what it needs to happen right now, which is policy. And what has happened is that they tied themselves to really obscure groups like the John Tanton Network, Numbers USA, FAIR, all these groups that have very close and obscure ties to white nationalism. And this is driving a lot of the talking points in the extreme right of the Republican Party. And this is furthering the points in the immigration debate.
Yeah. Alex Caballero, we got to have you back. Great to have you on the Ed Show. Appreciate your time and great work at Cuéntame. Thank you. Wisconsin's economy is in what? A tailspin? I thought Walker was the savior.